So, hello and welcome to the Cynic's Guide to Hippie Shit. So,
Yes,
I'm here
hello.
today with Terri Lee-Shield, and we've just spent the last 15 minutes talking about what the title was going to be. But I think, nailed it. We're going to be talking about conscious creation. So, what
Yes.
on earth does that mean?
Um, I think conscious creation is creating, being creative, but using your full awareness and your full consciousness in like a holistic way to create something. And that process of taking something that starts in your imagination and then actually bringing it to life. And part of it for me as well is about I think quite deeply about things. So it's about it depends on what I'm creating, but considering how to do that and what the impact of it might be, or doing it in a way that benefits you. We were chatting a little bit, weren't we, about sometimes the pressure of creativity can be quite stressful and things, and then it loses its magic. I think once you kind of step out of alignment with the creative process. So I think conscious creation is that process of creativity from a place of holistic alignment, doing it from I generally don't like the term higher level of consciousness, but just more awareness,
Yeah,
doing it not just for the sake of doing it, which is sometimes is really nice. And I do sometimes consciously choose to just create for the sake of it, but because of a deeper meaning or a deeper calling or a different higher perspective, if you like, or a different level of consciousness. Because I don't think some things you can't create from what we consider to be our day-to-day conscious mind. We can
mm.
create a sandwich from that. Do you know what I mean? We don't really put much meaning into a sandwich.
I
I mean, you
wouldn't
could.
know.
Oh, that's
I
true.
like
You
a good
could.
sandwich.
Yeah, me too. That was a bad example, wasn't it? I love cooking, and well, actually, this is one of the things actually because now I try and bring that consciousness into most of the things I create. I
Actually,
find that
it's a really good example because you can make a meal, you can make a nice meal, or you can like really, really think about the people you're cooking for, the impact of the food, um, the aesthetic. I used to be vegan, I'm not anymore, but when I was, one of my favorite things to do was to have dinner parties and invite meat eaters and make really elaborate kind of creative meals and for not to convert them or anything, but for them to just appreciate something that could be done with vegan cooking. And I
yeah,
think
new
that's
experience.
creativity.
That yes, that's like the perfect example of what conscious creation is, I would say, because you can't just go in and you could just make a sandwich and wax some butter on bread and eat it, or like you say, you can kind of think about, consider, and be inspired by this process of taking something that doesn't exist. You've maybe it's got the ingredients, and then literally using your imagination and all this other stimulus to come up with a concept, plan a meal, and then use your body to create the meal and then serve it with the intention of giving someone else an experience. So it's not just about that, you know, eating the sandwich because I'm a bit hungry. It's that whole experience,
Yeah.
and it's a holistic it's a holistic experience then.
So a lot of people tell me that they are not creative.
Oh yeah.
And so I work for mindful therapies and we do a lot of, we've got a creative wellness program at the moment that involves various different creative things like we're doing some screen printing, we're making proggy mats at the moment, and the amount of time I hear people just beating themselves up saying that they've got it wrong when I'm like, no, there isn't any right and wrong here. This is about expression, this is about exploring. And I think a lot of it is those messages we get at school, isn't it? About, if you can't draw a bowl of fruit, then you're not artistic. And it's just bollocks, isn't it?
Well, what's funny is I think, yeah, it is. I've been diving into this idea of creativity and like expression and stuff quite a bit in the past few couple of months, and I actually did a video about exactly what you were talking about, a little like using like just how what creativity is in a aspect of how we can use them skills as well, like in our day-to-day life. So we were kind of taught that creativity is just art.
Yes.
And art is like a form of creativity, but art is a process of I think trying to like capture something that's untangible and make it real, like a painting or something like that, or a dance. Or so it is a form of creativity, but like we were just saying with food and stuff, creativity is anything that you create. And I come from a family that have definitely would put themselves in the I'm not creative category. Like my mum used to say that all the time. She'd be like, I don't know where you get it from. I'm not creative. Um and my dad actually he used to say he's not creative, but he is. He's like always worked with his hands, and he's like, can create a kitchen or decorate a room, that sort of thing. And my mum actually, she used to be like, she used to do figures and that sort of thing. But actually, that even to a degree, all of that is she's using that to create a business. Do you know what I mean? Although my mum definitely was in the category of she wouldn't think about herself in a creative way. We are creating all the time. Like we cannot not create. And the difference, I think, between conscious creation and not is then choosing to align with that truth and see and then choose what we can create. So every day we get up and put our energy into something. Everything we look at, we're putting our energy into something. Everything we write, everything we type, everything we say, it's
Deciding
all,
what's there in the
yeah,
morning.
exactly. Putting your clothes on, it's all a form of creativity. Even putting makeup on, getting washed, it's, washing yourself is creating a fresh, clean version of yourself for the day. And you can tap into that potential and begin to choose to use it in a different way. But it's like you said in the question, it's like stifled at school that I don't know. It's like we're put in this box of answers. And to me, creativity is like almost the opposite of that. It's like not having an answer. It's not needing an outcome. It's just doing things, seeing what happens, getting feedback about it. And when I was reflecting on this, I realized that my creativity, or this skill I have of creativity, has helped me in every area of my life because it's an adaptable skill. I do art, and a lot of art is kind of learning how to master certain skills, and that's challenging. Like some of my mom used to tell the story from when I was a kid where I wanted to draw a lion, and I think she said I was like really young, like 2, and I was having like a tantrum again and again and again because I couldn't draw this lion. I still couldn't draw a lion now, but I could probably paint something that resembled a lion and maybe even enjoy that process and reflect something about the energy of that lion that I wouldn't be attached to the outcome of now. So what I'm trying to express is that when we just let go of this productivity, because there's a difference between being creative and productive. Some creativity is productive and it produces, but actually the process, once you adapt that in your life, it gives you a whole different level of consciousness and a whole different level of awareness. So like our relationships, that's a really good example. Our relationships are constant. It's something we create constantly because it's never the same. Our relationships are always responding to something, and we don't have control about how the other person's going to respond. So it's almost an experiment. If you say something to somebody, I don't know how you're going to respond. So it's like I'm saying something and you're saying something back, and we're creating this interaction, this energy. And when you look at relationships long term, it's creating a story. you know, it's, I'm getting all goosebumps when I say that, but that is like, and that's the difference, because you can be in a relationship and you can just be in it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want the next level of a relationship, if you want to intentionally build intimacy, or if you want to intentionally have a certain type of relationship, like a collaboration in work, or you've got to be able to have a little bit of mastery about that. And then that's where the artistry comes in. You've got to be able to practice it, and you've got to realize that it might not go your way. There might be mistakes you have to overcome. There might be problems you have to solve. Sometimes you have to know when to stop and just leave it and walk away and have a rest. And
It's
yeah.
interesting in terms of relationships because um, I sometimes talk about the attitudes of mindfulness, and one of them being beginner's mind, and
Mm-hmm.
treating things with beginner's mind, like looking at the world through the eyes of a child, and looking at other people with beginner's mind as though we've not met them before. I mean, not literally, but it's almost like the longer we're in a relationship with someone, the less creative we are, and the less effort we make, and the less we actually see them, because what we see is how they were yesterday, the day before, the day before. We think that we know. And if we can stop pretending we know anything and actually genuinely go in with beginner's mind and that sense of intention and conscious awareness, that's how we build a relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like and it's exactly the same as a creative process, whether you, like, if you're trying to create a business or a project or a piece of art, like I say, it's the longer you try and attach to an old idea or an outcome, you're not allowing it to be created. You've kind of already defined it, really, and then you're stifling the whole process of it becoming what it is. And I think we kind of struggle with that a little bit at times. And I mean, I know I did for sure in relationships. And that was why in my life, actually, it was like I say, it was kind of a habit I'd formed in all these different areas. And then just stepping out of that and freeing myself from that, becoming more conscious of what is happening. Like, oh, like, let's actually pay attention to what's happening. Let's stop living in my head and all my ideas and assumptions, um and yeah, see what's happening and actually be present in a conversation, or um feel the sensations that are going on and respond to them, rather than try and repress them and carry on feeling what I felt yesterday, or repress them and carry on feeling what I felt when we first met 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of relationships can, ultimately, that's why they end up struggling, or we end up suffering within them, exactly like you said, because we've lost the creative process in it, and we try and stick each other in these boxes because it meets our needs, and it gets very painful to be stuck in a box, I think.
Yeah. But less scary than not knowing what's around the corner.
Yes.